Welcome to Tomorrow Talk. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Cersei, and I am here with my co-host Nahili as we discuss our two sessions, our DaggerHeart session and our Edge of the Empire session. Today we're joined with our special guest, Geller, from our DaggerHeart series. How are you both doing today?
Great. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. And
Doing all
we're
right.
joined with Geller. Yes. How are you feeling on being first time on our Tomorrow Talk?
Uh, I've never really done something like this before. In any official capacity. I've streamed some things in the past that nobody ever saw, but no, this is something new for me.
Well, good thing is it's still relatively new for most of us, so we're just gonna have fun talking about the two uh, RPGs we've been doing, and from there, I'll actually pass it on to Nahili.
Yeah, so I'll just give a brief summary, I guess, of both, and then we'll go into like the question um, and dialogue, conversation portion of the stream. So I'll start with the Edge of Empire, just because that's probably the freshest in my mind. Last time on Edge of the Empire, we did a funeral ceremony, a pyre ceremony for our departed Jedi friend Oola Tann. It was very sad. She had a bunch of Jedi gathered around. Her former Jedi Master said some parting words, and then Rose May's character, um, Niala Nam, also gave some beautiful words to her departed friend. Um, and once that ceremony was concluded, we kind of skipped forward a couple days, but we didn't start the session off with the funeral. We actually started the session off introducing two new characters. We introduced Hallie, which was Cersei's new character because she did retire Cecile. Cecile did hit the apex of her story. She felt satisfied with her story, and so we concluded that. So we introduced a new Jedi character. And then we also introduced Beryl, which is a Republic soldier. That is replacing Oola Tann for Tony Marungi, um, which was fitting because now Beryl will be working very closely with Niela Nam, and Hallie will be working with Carrick Mays as Carrick Mays' new Padawan. Actually, very first Padawan. So that's exciting. They got to go to the Jedi Council. They met, oh my God, figures of that council within the Star Wars, the Old Republic universe before Satil Shan became a council member. So this is before she rose to the Grandmaster rank. Um, that was exciting. We got to do a little bit of that. Hallie, uh, Hallie's player was having, I think, some hiccups there, which we'll probably discuss a bit during the discussion part, which was hilarious. We all had a good laugh at that. And, but yeah, and HX kind of went along for the ride this time. Kind of got to see the Republic side of things, got to see the Jedi side of things. And then on the Republic side of things, they did explain that they're going to be creating an outpost on the planet of Yavin 4. That outpost will be run by a Jedi Master named Oola. Um, Oola, Jesus, I'm so stuck on Oola. Will be run by Ormril Vamori. He's a Jedi Master that was again Oola Tann's former master, but also Carrick Maze's master. Um, and he'll be running the outpost for a short period of time until the time comes where Niela Nam can actually be promoted to the rank of major. That outpost will be serving as a forward mobility base, which will allow our players to pretty much do small like missions within the outer rim. that will vary from like escort to cargo to rescuing someone, or doing sabotage, or even causing some chaos for the Sith Empire. While they're doing that, they're going to build up reputation with the Republic, and they're going to actually build up their outpost. So that's going to be part of this new chapter in our Star Wars journeys, is that they're actually going to have a base of operations, and that will also be kind of a character into itself that they're going to develop over time. Right now, it's just going to be them, some support staff. They'll have a small shuttle that they can use to do their missions from, but it's going to start off really small, very tiny, and it's just going to grow from there. And that's pretty much kind of how we were wrapping up the event. They all came together, and now they're about to head to the starport within a week. So there'll be a week advanced when we do our Star Wars next time, and they'll be en route to Yavin 4, which everyone knows Yavin 4 from the movies. That's where the rebels had their base on the moon. That's where the Death Star was destined to destroy the Rebellion Alliance. But this is long before the rebels existed. This is a planet, or a moon rather, that has a lot of history in this time period, which Hallie was actually tasked to research. So that'll be fun. Now moving into our DaggerHeart universe. Our DaggerHeart universe, the characters went to the tavern. They went to bed. Pretty much all of them went to bed. They had some social interactions prior to going to bed, but Geller's one of the few that actually stayed up. He propped a chair in front of a window, left the window open against advisement of doing so, and he literally watched as a quick transformation happened over a few hours. What was going to potentially be a clear night sky became quickly foggy. The temperature dropped from low 60s down to like the 30s Fahrenheit. It was chilly, and it just abruptly came. Geller went outside to check on Shroomies, pet, out in the corral behind the tavern, and discovered that the pet was gone, and went back into the house, or the tavern rather, to inform the party members like, hey, there's something weird going on. But he didn't stick around too long, because he quickly went out to investigate the lone individual that was standing in the middle of the town. He discovered that that was the elder, and he pretty much went along with questioning the elder. The elder guided him back to the town hall. And that's where the elder was like, well, I can't talk about much. We got to get a lot of prep. So Geller went along with it for the moment, helped with the prep, but fully intended to question the elder when the time permitted. While he was doing that, he was also coordinating with Bremia through a telepathic link that they had. And Bremia got all, people up and ready and going. And they kind of split off into 3 different groupings. We had Shroomy, who went off by herself. We had, I want to say, Thistle and Raiden went to another field together. And then Bremia and Borellis? No, yeah, they stayed in the town center. And pretty much, as you can assume, as this darkness crept across the land, the fog got heavier, the cold snap hit harder, and every town civilian that they could muster to the town hall was safe. Creatures from the darkness started to approach. It was quickly discovered that they weren't simply just creatures. They were probably former villagers, transformed by some sort of corruption. I wouldn't necessarily say they were undead. We're not 100% sure what they were. They certainly weren't themselves anymore. That's for sure. And combat happened in multiple areas. Shroomy did manage to avoid combat altogether, thankfully, which, because she was by herself, so thankfully her stealth rolls were great. She managed to get the civilians out of her area, and she got them back to town square. Thistle and Ryden managed to save a bunch of civilians while also combating these creatures from the dark. And at the town center, Geller, Bremia, and Varellis held the line basically, and created an opening for people to get back into the town hall and to safety. Once everyone that they could save was within the town hall, they closed up the town hall and they had a little bit of a powwow with the elder. And the elder went on to explain that he was always preparing for this moment, but the way he described it was he wasn't really prepared for this at all. Um, he had a general idea of like, hey, we'll just bunker down into this town hall, and that seems to be the extent of his preparations. Uh, he was vague, maybe a little elusive, with answering some of Geller's questions, but overall, I think the party themselves determined what their next moves were going to be. The town elder, while he wasn't very helpful, did at least provide them the chance to rest. And so he mustered up the townsmen and women that were able and capable to defend overnight, just to keep watch, make sure nothing breached the walls, while our party of heroes got to sleep. Um, I think as players, it felt like the townspeople were completely leaning on them to resolve their problem. Um, I don't think that was, I don't think that was alluded at all, or missed rather. But that's pretty much what happened in our DaggerHeart campaign. That's just the quick summary. I'm going to pass this back to Thistle, or rather Cersei, and I will let Cersei actually start off with some of our DaggerHeart questions.
Thank you. So I'll start with Geller. So Geller, since this is your first time being on the stream, why don't you just give me like a little bit of or give us like a little bit of a overview of Geller as a character?
So, Geller, he's your typical scholar type. Um, the difference being that he grew up in a underground dwarven city and a culture that doesn't typically um, promote that kind of personality in their culture. So right from the beginning, he was a kind of an outcast in his kind. Um, as a character, because of that experience as a child, and he sort of became a little more neurodivergent when it came to um, his thought process and his methods in which he would complete various tasks and crafting and just overall the things that he took interest in. His father was a glassblower, um, and presumably still alive. Um, but at a young age, Geller uh, had assigned himself up to the army of the dwarven people, and because of his intelligence, um, he was quickly put into a program that wanted to train uh, dwarves to sort of combat the threat of magical influence. And so over time, he became a very skilled mage. Um, and through various events um, that will probably come up in game at some point, um, he was ousted from the dwarven military and is now a fugitive, presumably. Or rather, he's missing in action.
That's a really interesting background and overview. Um, I guess the first question, kind of relating to our session, is Geller had gotten a lot of information kind of as they were going through the festival. And one tidbit of information he gotten was about, at night, make sure your windows or whatever are closed and all of that. And then Geller goes and does the exact opposite. as the character, what was going through Geller's mind when he decided to do the exact opposite of what basically he had been advised?
So in Geller's experience, he thinks there's a lot of superstition and caution placed around things that can be explained, dissected, and basically made clearer just through observation. And he felt that the situation didn't promote enough caution for him to put aside that curiosity. So in order to sort of figure out the mystery of what was going on, he decided to go completely against the advice of what the men said to finally understand what everyone seems to be tiptoeing around in this town.
With that, do you feel, at least obviously we've still got, it's kind of like just the first part of what's going on for the characters in that town. But do you feel, or do you think Geller is how do I say this? Do you feel like Geller has got a better idea of what's going on now, or has probably just as like lost in what potentially could be?
So, definitely wasn't what he expected. And it definitely brings up a lot more questions now than there were before. But that such is the nature of study and science and magic and the arcane. And so he's in the zone right now. Finding out more about what's happening with everything that's going on with this legend, it definitely brought everything to a larger scale, and Geller's really trying to dive deep in how to solve this problem.
What was that character's name that was on the ship that is really suspicious? I forgot what her name was.
It's Valen.
Valen. So Valen, when I'm going through the scene, obviously Thistle isn't as involved in that whole bit of it. I don't think she actually had any interactions with that character. But on an out of character standpoint, I'm over here thinking, okay, this Valen character is definitely involved in some way in all of this mess. But I guess from your perspective, like, I guess I'll kind of ask this from an in character, but potentially an out of character viewpoint as well. Is like, what do you think think's happening there? Do you have any like theories of this, who this person is and maybe what they're after?
I think their motives are definitely less good than we know. But at the same time, I don't think they're directly involved in what is happening, other than perhaps the reason everything's sort of hitting the fan now is due to something she is doing in the forest. And I feel like because of her influence on whatever that is, it definitely caused whatever the elder said wasn't supposed to be happening yet to happen. And we definitely got some questions for her, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that it might be a situation where kind of an unintended consequence, someone searching for something, or searching, we got these great stories where characters are searching for some power, and the power is much different than they expected, and then it unleashes, some negative consequence and retaliation. So I definitely kind of get the feeling that maybe this wasn't actually as intended, but it was just it was a result of someone dabbling into things they weren't supposed to dabble into. At least that's my theory.
Yeah, I think that her need to sort of study the natural phenomenon of what's going on in this island overcame her ability to make a moral decision on whether she should be doing what she's doing. And Geller can relate to that in some ways. I relate to that as a person, um, because I want to find out answers and the truth and to explore things that aren't necessarily safe and potentially could, harm others if handled improperly. And, the fact that, some people can do that, but, keeping in mind the safety of others is the line, you know?
Absolutely. Kind of pivoting from that point, Geller, since they've arrived in the town, we've all these characters have had to come and kind of meet one another. One interesting uh relationship between the characters is, they come and, for my character Thistle, her and Arve and Shroomy, as she's become known because of Thistle, they have this relationship that's went on for some time. um for Geller, it seems that he has some similar relationships with the group as well. Could you kind of talk a little bit about, some of his relationships he had coming into the group with the player?
Sure. So he had after his sort of outcasting from dwarven society, he sort of found himself alone in the world and wandering, and eventually he came across Burmia's caravan, um, and through some events that occurred there that I think will be discussed more in detail at some point in the game. Um, they ended up uh, traveling together. Geller, for the most part, at the beginning, was probably very, very closed off and distrusting of others, um, and still is to a large extent. But he's sort of warmed up to Bremia and her youthful curiosity, and he sees potential in her magical ability and wants to sort of foster that for her without, showing his softer side, even if it comes through sometimes.
Well, that's,
Uh,
that's nice. It's kind of, you're kind of like a teacher.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sure Geller would see himself that way, but Burmia might view him that way. Uh, he just wants to make sure she blossoms in the way she's meant to, without being hindered in any way. Uh, and as far as like other relationships, I believe it's Raiden was also had encountered Geller at some point. And this was during his time in the military, during one of his operations. And the operations that Geller was involved in the military was more like special ops kind of thing, where is on a need to know basis, sabotage, stuff like that, stuff behind the scenes where he would get involved for higher ups in the dwarven government. And so one of those was let me take a look at this real quick. I think it was the Sundered Pact, um, where let's see here. Yeah, it was there was skirmishes that were happening out, I think, on the sea. Um, and during one of those skirmishes, Raiden had encountered Geller on an opposing force on the battlefield, and there was tension there. There was a battle that had been had, but just as in the midst of that battle, there was a third party that had intervened that has yet to be identified. Whereas Geller ended up having to align himself with Raiden to deal with the threat. In the end, they parted ways until they eventually met again at the beginning of this campaign.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like, these characters and relationships, ultimately, as we tell stories, because, we're all role players, so we all are really big into character development and storytelling, and so it's fun to watch these characters even early on and how they interact, and sometimes it's positive and sometimes it's not. I will say one fun thing and fun dynamic is that our characters didn't really start off on the right foot,
They did not.
and that's putting it mildly. I'll kind of give a little bit on Thistle, because Thistle, she's very much she's very common, very, out in the woods lady, talking to mushrooms and plants and frogs and, getting down in the dirt and rolling in the mud. she's she's very I guess Geller would say she's a little bit undignified. Um and but she's very proud of who she is. One fun interaction I think we had, other than obviously on the boat, was, at least from my standpoint, is when they're in the field and Geller's making his comments about, her talking to plants.
Oh yeah, like that was in
And
the streets when they met.
yeah,
Yeah.
and him making kind of a little quip here and there about the plants speaking and stuff, and she got extremely defensive in that way, because she's like, I know the plants speak and they have feelings and thoughts. And I just think it's fun to see these characters that are so different have those types of interactions, because I feel like we're only gonna grow in that as the story goes, and we have different interactions as a group. Because some of these characters don't. A lot of we're still early, so a lot of our characters we haven't dug super deep between, different people and relationships there. I like to say a good example of that is actually Thistle and Bremia, because Thistle likes Bremia. Seems like she's got a good head on her shoulders, and I'd say Thistle probably trusts Bremia to an extent, being like a reasonable lady. But Thistle also does not know that Brimia is an Applebrook, which for Thistle means that she is a no good. She's from no good family and all this stuff. Rose is probably laughing right now, but it's she just has some preconceived notions about, that clan of halflings. And as we develop the story, as potentially those things unwind, it will be very fun to kind of see those dynamics shift, and maybe preconceived notions change about different things. And yeah, I've really enjoyed things so far, because I think it's fun to see we got a very different group of characters, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, well, that's one of the biggest things about being in a TTRPG group is, it's hard to create a character that has those connections and those tensions that, have emergent storytelling come out of them due to that conflict. And I too enjoy the abrasiveness between Geller and Thistle, because in my perspective, Thistle sort of represents the chaos of someone's mind and nature and everything else, whereas Geller is more of a person who likes to be in control and likes to understand things on a fundamental level. So he sort of is very thorny about dealing with people who are so chaotic as Thistle. Um, and as far as like what's going on there with like Thistle and Bremia, I think that it'll be interesting to see because uh, Thistle was very judgmental about Geller's preconceived notions about druids and the power they wield and nature itself, whereas she might be very judgmental about, her preconceived notions about what an Applebrook would be, um, and what that family has gotten themselves into. Um, yeah, it's very interesting. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and I do like how you kind of put it that way because it's definitely that way. It's one of those things as a character you see if your character is going to be able to kind of connect the dots of, hey, you just said this about this person, but you're doing the exact same thing over here, just in a different way. So yeah, I like how everything's going and the development there. And yeah, I look forward to more of that. Is there? I guess I'll ask you one more question. Is there anything, I guess, that either your characters or maybe even another character's interaction so far with any of the NPCs or other characters that you've kind of been like, oh, I didn't expect that, or that's something it just kind of something that really didn't work out how you may have seen or may have thought it would have worked out, or how the story's taken a turn so far. Is there anything that's kind of stood out to you, I guess, so far?
Things that happened to Geller specifically. The first one is really funny because he was talking to Valen, right? And he made a very flirtatious comment toward Valen. Um, and she, in turn, uh, had stated her preference against short people. And I was like, interesting. Uh, but I didn't, push on that or anything. I felt it in my soul because in real life, I'm the exact same height as Geller is. Um, but it's it's a
Emotional
struggle,
damage.
emotional damage, and then later on in the sessions, I think two or three other people had made comments on my height, and I'm like, uh, but no, that's a funny one, but I think that the things that haven't gone exactly how I expected them, definitely interactions with Thistle, um, came out of left field for me. For some reason, I expected our characters to have more camaraderie than they did. Um, but I like where it had gone. Um, and as far as anything else, mm, I will say I've been very surprised at Nahili's ability to improv uh, certain NPCs. Like the conversation with Bremia and that vendor felt very natural and felt like there was a lot of depth to that character specifically, even though he was just a vendor. And that's what I like to see.
Oh, you talk about
Yeah.
the actor slash vendor.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had to call her
Yeah.
Princess Applebrook. I just had to. I was like, oh my god, missed opportunity.
That
She
was my
forever
first
will
time
be.
hearing that she was any kind of Apple royalty.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun kind of seeing things as they're going, and I only look forward to more. Did you have any other questions about the DaggerHeart you wanted to ask, Nahili?
Yeah. What does Geller actually think of like Varellis? Because I know that's one of those characters that's kind of like on the outskirts right now with most
Mhm.
people. Does Geller think anything of that particular character?
Unless like he's like a half angel, right?
Yes, he's kind of like he's got divinity within him.
So, I don't know how common that race is,
Not
but
common.
the fact he's like his eyes shine almost like a lighthouse, I feel like needs to be like stated more often. Like, because to me, he just seems so out of place as a person in the world, and I think Geller just sort of has kept his distance at this point, because he can tell he knows the type, very righteous and muscle bound, strong headed warrior type. Um, but as far as his personal thoughts toward Varellus, um, he hasn't really had enough interactions with him to really gain a good judgment on his character or uh, what he's capable of necessarily. But he's definitely holds some curiosity in the back of his mind of what even a half angel would be capable of. Not that he knows what he is in the first place, honestly, unless he's encountered some in the past, but or heard of them.
Yeah, I would say that beings like Borellus are very not. They're very rare, I guess, in our world that we've crafted homebrewed wise. I would say they're kind of like the ultra minority, like the 1% of the world. Not very
His
common.
character definitely has surprised me on his charisma with the people. He's been very vocal and uh, caring and kind to the people of the town, and that's something that's really stood out for me as his character.
Yeah, actually, for all of us, actually, I think I've really enjoyed that part of Borellus is that he's kind of like he's loud and he's kind of in your face. You can't ignore him because he's bright too. So
I really like the after she won, after Thistle won the pie eating contest, that that Varellis put Thistle up on his shoulders. I loved that. I think that was so cute.
So
And
great.
my character just got, Thistle, believe it or not, is not a very charismatic character. Um, not in the same way. Like she's not a character. I guess the best way to put it is the reason she's got a -1 to presence isn't that, she can't make some funny quips here and there, but because she can. But I think the thing is, she's also kind of, she can put people off by not meaning to. Like she isn't exactly the most, I guess some people might say she's not the most cleanly character. She might have dirt under her toenails and stuff, but she just sees that as natural and part of the world. And there's nothing wrong with a little dirt under your fingernails, but like she's, yeah, twigs in her hair and all of that. So that's kind of why I like put her that way. But I still like, when she was on Varellis' shoulder, like she's playing into it too. Like she's raising her hands and saying, yeah, yeah, the whole time because she's having a good old time and she enjoys that camaraderie 100%. That's one thing she really enjoys. So I like that, those interactions with like his character, because it was fun to see that dynamic, because they've had, her and Varellis have had some weird interactions.
This is sort of unrelated, but it's also about DaggerHeart. Um, so there was a time in the session where we got into a combat, and Geller's first instinct was to just run in, which most of the time when you see a mage, they don't necessarily go running into a combat. They keep their distance, you know. But there was a. I want to explain myself essentially. If that's okay.
yeah, go for it.
So this isn't something that Geller is going to continue doing. It's just in this moment specifically, he felt Brimia was in danger as she was closer to the enemies, and so he ran to be in front of her. that was where I was gonna be originally, because I thought I would have enough range with my abilities. But looking at what my magic can do, I saw that I really actually needed to be closer, and so I ran in, not realizing that my staff actually in DaggerHeart, because I've played so much 5e D&D, I thought it was kind of like a quarter staff, that it really didn't have anything crazy to it. And so I look at my sheet and I see, after I've already gone up to be in melee range of these enemies, that the staves in DaggerHeart can they have a long range. At least mine has a really long range. And it's really cool to me that DaggerHeart does that, where it gives mages sort of this greater ability to be backline fighters like they're meant to be, rather than going up and getting close with a quarterstaff.
I actually liked that moment when Geller ran forward because it's like, he could have just probably done more range attacks, but he saw an RP opportunity with Bremia, and I liked that you went with the emotional part of it rather than like the mechanical part.
Yeah, that was his first inclination and my first inclination as a player. Um, and just also the fact that Geller was a soldier in some capacity, so he's no stranger to combat up close and personal. And I really did enjoy uh, the combat that did unfold with that. I liked my little uh, interact, like my little attack with my staff that I did, and the method in which I disposed of the enemy. It was fun.
Yeah, you could definitely like see the narrative driven in that combat, right? Like the minions having 1 HP and stuff. Like, doesn't sound very imposing, but you get enough of them surrounding you, they could start dealing some damage. Like I think poor Raiden got what, 3 points of HP gone, or four, something like that. You got 3 or 4 gone. Even though
Oh,
the,
that combat was brutal for sure.
but it's cool too because it makes you have like these little heroic moments within your own little time, I guess. I hate the word spotlight. I know Daggerheart likes to throw that word around. I don't know what a better word for it, but I just like that you all have your moments, I guess, to shine a little bit. That was nice.
I think that's really a balance when you're running a TTRPG. Is you gotta give everybody their moments, and make sure that they're able to flesh out their characters in the way they want to, give them opportunities to grow as a player and a character.
Yeah, you guys do a fantastic job with that. I think you all make my job easier because you guys do pass it along. Like there's not a lot of opportunities where you guys could have held on to that air quote spotlight, um, but you didn't. You passed it right on to the next player. So
Yeah, having that faith in your players to sort of understand that everybody has to be participating and involved in what's going on, um, I think is kind of a rare thing. Most of the time, people get together, they make groups, and they fall apart just as quick. And seeing that there's so much camaraderie and a good dynamic between all of us is reassuring for sure.
yeah, it helps because we have a couple veterans to pen and papers. We have you and Liz did play a bit of D&D as well, but then we got a lot of new people to pen and paper as well, and I think that kind of balances out that need to like want the center on yourself. It's kind of like everyone's learning, as a group. So I think that helps a lot having that difference in experience as well. It's when you have those pen and paper groups where everyone's been playing D&D for 20 plus years or whatever pen and paper system for so long that I don't know. It's different when you have like a mixed experience levels. I think that helps a little too, which is
Yeah,
great.
I think so.
Yeah, because they learn off of you. They learn off of each other. I'm learning off of you guys. Like Daggerheart's brand new to all of us. I mean, I'm gonna certainly be the first one to say that I'm gonna make mistakes in Daggerheart too. But the important thing is when you make those mistakes, just let it go, let it happen, as long as it's not against the players, and just move on. And then you learn the rule and you apply it next time. just don't let it ruin the fun. Just keep going. So I think that's a big takeaway that I've learned from you guys is that it's good to just let it go. Just keep going, keep moving forward. And then I've learned the rule now in that moment of my mistake. So next time I will apply that rule. But it's good
Yeah.
that we do that.
There's a big misconception in TTRPGs where they put a lot of the weight of the game on the DM, and really the DM is, or the GM rather, is just they're a player also, and they're trying their best, and they just want to have fun and tell a good story, just like you do as a player. And it's good when you get people who understand that, at least on some level, even if they don't realize it.
Absolutely. And it's been wonderful. So, and I'm glad you joined our group because I guess you're getting to see kind of like how a bunch of new people to pen and paper are kind of like finding their place in pen and paper. So it's kind of fun as a probably as someone who's been playing D&D for so long. It's kind of nice to see new people getting involved in pen and paper, no matter what form it takes. It's just nice to see more people getting involved. So
Yeah, I like to see it.
outside of the critical role norm, we're not voice actors or anything, but we do our best. So Thistle and your voice acting, to me, is very impressive. You guys stick to your tone and narrative, so I'm impressed.
I put a lot of pride in it. I take that into DMing too, just so my players can know that there's a differentiation between various characters, and I just like to get into the head of my characters so I can better understand them and tell a good story.
Well, you do a great job with Geller. Thistle does a great job with Thistle. I mean, that accent is very unique. So
I'm enjoying this a lot.
me too. She's that little ray of sunshine in the darkness.
I was gonna say so. I was like, I'm enjoying this a lot. Like this ain't enjoying you. But no, it's fun. No, going through my head, and I guess part of Thistle's head for a minute. It's now passed. I will say the worst has passed for now. But there was moments where I'm just like, huh, maybe she'll turn into like a little chipmunk and then or something, and she'll go poop in his shoes.
It
Like
was it, it was
there's
so funny to me when you were about to she opened the door and you brought back the whole "I'm about to puke" thing, and it's just like just close the door. I'm not dealing with that.
I was like, yeah, this is what she's thinking at this moment. God, that's funny. Yeah, but it's been fun so far for sure.
Right. Well, I think we should move on for the last at least 12 minutes for our Star Wars discussion. Didn't mind. I thought spending a little more time on the DaggerHeart since it's nice to have Geller on board with us. Talk about that a little more in depth. So we'll touch quickly on the Star Wars stuff since we have at least a weekend or two now because of the holiday seasons for that.
Yeah.
So I'll just start it off. I know you weren't necessarily directly involved with the pyre ceremony that happened for Oola Tann. When you were observing that as a player, Thistle slash Cersei slash Hallie, what were you thinking as an observer of that since you actually couldn't partake as Cecile, since Cecile left that last session? Our first player death, by the way, in our campaign, and the first player death for some of our newer pen and paper players, too. So this was kind of a big moment to see a player's character kind of the dirt, I guess.
Yeah, it was really heartfelt, I think. It's hard to see a character that, cuz we have been streaming these, but we've been doing our Star Wars longer than we've been doing these streams. Um so we get connected to the characters, and in some way you get connected, the characters get connected to each other. Um, and so seeing the, aftermath and the funeral, it becomes really kind of real that this character is gone. Cecile could technically at some point make an appearance or even come back if the story made sense. But Oola is gone, and um, it was. I like that we were able to see in that episode like the formality of like the funeral, and starting with Eric. I know the player couldn't be there, but still seeing like his character be present, in kind of the state he would be in, after losing his sister, pretty much. It was really powerful too, and I think it kind of worked off of the characters. I think Nyella is another character too that had a really close relationship with Ula, and so it impacts her, but you can also see the impact of even how she feels concerned about Carrick, and just seeing those relationships develop over time. um, these are all characters that I think relationship wise, like for Carrick and Nyella, they don't necessarily have the strongest relationship, but I think a character like Ula is someone they both cared about. It kind of brings those characters together, and I think that's part of the story as well. And yeah, it's really beautiful to see that.
Yeah, I mean that's and it's also nice to see like the universe isn't as safe as it seems, right? It actually brought like, okay, this is real. These characters' choices do matter, especially at pivotal moments where you probably have a little longer to think about things before you do, but because you're in the moment, you don't realize you have a few more minutes to think. You just jump into it and make a rash decision, and Ula did. She did made a decision based on what her character would have done, which is great. I totally endorse that, and it came at a cost, and it's quite sad. But with the loss of Oola Tann and the departure of Cecile, because her narrative completed, how did you feel about Cecile's story finishing? And we actually have a clear sign that, yeah, we are moving on now from Cecile.
Yeah, I think I was very connected to Cecile, and I've built a lot in that, getting into her mind, and I think everything with her leaving, it made sense. It aligned with where she was in her headspace after everything had happened up to that point. Also seeing Callan again, which, you know, is somebody she needed to see, and it just kind of all fit together. And not having her there anymore, while it is a loss in some ways, especially from a perspective of having a character that's very easily the most charismatic. Um, I'm pleased with how her story came to a close. And I do like that there is an idea of her. She might come up again. She's not gone forever. It's just her path right now with the group had went on as long as it could. Um, from a player standpoint, I could see too, like her character had been a little bit less ingrained in the group, had less core relationships with everyone. She had like decent relations with everyone, but nobody she was really close to. And I think that also plays a part in it, because they are now going into a chapter where you need to have trust, and you need to have um, a lot of built-in foundation. And for Cecile, her whole idea was about survival. And specifically, one of those is her survival. And so it made sense from that standpoint that her character was going to move toward that, where survival was going to take her. And for that, that was going to mean departing, especially departing with someone, she had long been separated from, but who meant a lot to her. So it all made sense. And I think it was a good way to close out that chapter.
Yeah, I think we all get stuck like on that character, right? Because we put so much time and effort into that character, and we don't want to see them die or go, but I think it's nice when those moments happen too for other players because it's kind of like, hey, this is a living universe. Everyone has their own ups and downs and their own pitfalls, and life changes, and that I think that was just a really good reflection of that. But kind of segues into our next part of with the newcomers. We introduced Hallie, and we introduced Beryl. What do you think of your new character, and what do you think of our new soldier character joining the ranks of our more veteran explorers?
Well, I'll start off with Beryl because I think Beryl's going to be very interesting. I know, I know Tony is very interested and excited with this character because it's a little bit different. Um, and I think she's going to be very fitting into the group because she's already got a good relationship or foundation. She has a history with Nyella, and I think she's showing it even in her first scenes that she's going to be somebody who isn't afraid to ask questions and maybe get into the weeds a little bit more because she wants to make sure, hey, is everything above board here, or are we doing things that, like, are things going like they're supposed to? And I think for this group we need somebody like that. We need somebody who's being more vigilant and checking out, like, okay, just like her observation of, hey, the guard said this or whatever. Like, that's a little concerning. While it might not have necessarily been like as concerning as she may have brought it up to be, it was still one of those things where it's like, okay, you're keeping awareness of what's being said, because that could be very important going forward as we're encountering people, like remembering, like, okay, this person said this, but we're now hearing this, like, what's going on here? So I think she's going to be a really great addition. Also, heavy firepower is going to be very helpful because in the past, we've been a little bit lacking for firepower and trying to kill things. So if she brings that, she'll be very helpful.
I agree. I mean, that's probably why you guys ran into that issue in that on Alderaan with the loss of Oola, is because there just wasn't enough combat strength in the group, which is fine. You guys designed the characters the way you wanted to design the characters, and I think that's actually needs to be encouraged more, because you guys could have easily went the whole, I want to say meta, but you could have done the meta route. You could have built your characters to be like overpowered and stuff, but you didn't. You chose more of the social role play skills, and I commend that. But I also knew in the back of my head, I'm like, oh man, these guys are going to run into a problem or a situation where they're going to need combat skills, and I'm like, oh, well, that's going to happen tonight. Oh no. And it happened. You're
Yep,
going into a war.
absolutely. Yeah, we knew it was going to be a mess. So
And what about Hallie? This is a character you kind of created before, but you're reinventing her. So how are you reinventing her this time?
yeah. Oh, I kept a lot of her backstory. So I created Holly for a more of a D&D type campaign that we were going to do, or RPG type campaign we're going to do, uh what over a year ago, I think. And that campaign, we kind of got to a point where just we had to kind of close it down because we didn't have the reliability, I think, of the group that we have now. um and so, I retired her in that circumstance, but I always kept her as a possibility should something happen to Cecile. And bringing her into this, I'm keeping a lot of her backstory the same. She is a Chiss, um, and she comes from a far off planet. I think it's in wild space. And because the Chiss aren't a race that's out there in everywhere. I think they're not. I think they're off in what's that area of the world they're off in? There's a section of the world the Chiss are. I forget
Yeah, it was
because it's
Sicilia, which is in the unknown regions, is where they originate
yes,
from.
yes. So she's not in the unknown regions. She's just in a very small. She's from a very small encampment of Chiss. I think on the planet of Neuronian. I can't say the name. Um, but um, but yeah, she's from there, and she was actually kind of like pushed out of her home because she was basically seen to have like some type of force abilities, and the tribe or what have you there thought that she was going to be a threat because of that. And so she was basically, banished from her village. And lucky for her, she was found by her Jedi master at that time, Master, I think, Saris Ventor. And he brought her in when she was a youngling, I guess, and you know, tried and started to train her. And he was her master for the last 5 years until he met his demise recently. So she's kind of had to go through that, and now she's in this position where she's had this master who's been very disciplined, and that's kind of how she's tried to mirror her life, is in that same discipline. And now she's going to have a new master who may or may not be as disciplined. And she's very curious, but I think as the we did in the session, like, she's also very kind of like hesitant or reluctant, though she tries to keep it down. She's not eager because she still holds close to like what she was taught. It's kind of like, in school, when when you have a teacher that you're really close to or you really like, and let's say you go to another class or another class of the same subject and you have a different teacher, and this different teacher doesn't teach like your other teacher did. So for her, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, I know you're telling me this, but my other master told me this, and that's what I'm used to. And so I feel like there may or may not be part of that kind of stuff happening in the future, where she might kind of be stuck to the way she learned before, and having to work with a new master is probably going to be part of that, kind of the getting to know you phase of, yeah, I need to learn how this master does things and get adjusted to how they do things. And that might be part of the interesting part, but also part of the struggle of everything, I think, for her.
And for our friend Geller, do you mind saying or attempting to say Hallie's real name?
Oh my god.
Okay, what is it? Where can I see this?
My god. Let me get it for you.
She said it during our last session, and Bremia, also, i.e. Rosemary, i.e. Niela Nam, also said it pretty well.
Yes, Rose did a very good job of saying it, because my session, we didn't really talk about it, but I was kind of I was struggling because I had spent a lot of time trying to specify how Holly talks, because she has a very specific way of speaking. And so I was trying to do that in my head, while also then having to remember and recite, like, recite, the vows or oaths that Nahili's Jedi Master was having Holly recite. And so here I am trying to be like, I need to say this right. And then also, I need to remember this. And I was forgetting. I was just forgetting the whole time, messing up words. But yeah, I put the name in the chat. Geller, if you want to try to say it.
Okay, here we go. Kozithaliar.
I mean, to me, it sounds right, but those names are
Yeah,
insane.
that's not, yeah, that's really close. Yeah, I can't, I honestly right now I couldn't even try to pronounce it, but no, you're actually really close to how it's supposed to be said. And Rose also is really well. But yeah, she doesn't go by that name because it is more of a difficult name, so she just goes by Holly. But yeah, that's kind of a gist of that.
The vows were really adorable too.
I'm really curious what the apostrophes represent.
Um, there's a book called Thrawn, and you can see him in Ahsoka, but he is a very calculated, very intelligent admiral who once served Palpatine, but then he kind of went into the unknown regions to. It's rumored to go after the Yuzan Vong, but he came back to the known galaxy to learn that the Empire had fallen, and so he created this Imperial Remnants group, and he used like rebel tactics and stuff against the newly constructed Republic. But short ends of it is their species is so intelligent, so smart that their language is what they consider precise. So to say their name, you have to say it precisely, and the hyphens are supposed to be like broken up parts of their name that are like segmented in a way that is supposed to represent their like way of viewing.
Oh, I thought the opposite.
Yeah, it's insane.
So it's more like Kozith Ali Ilar.
That sounds really good to me. I never try to say Chiss names. I don't even try to say Elven names, and I play an elf half the time. Those two naming conventions to me, elves and Chiss, they're insane. I don't care what genre of media you like. They're insane.
I don't think they hold a candle to Aztec language names.
No, Aztec is hard too. I did
but there's a lot of commonalities in their names, though.
There is. Jeez, that's crazy. But yeah, Hallie also did some vows there, Geller, and it was basically an oath to becoming Carrick's new Padawan. And as the Jedi Council member was reciting, then they expected her to repeat them back. And during this moment, poor Hallie Thistle / Cersei was having a really hard time with it. And I could hear the laugh.
I was struggling. Yeah, I was laughing because I was like struggling. I was just like, I think I remember what was said as I'm trying to pronounce my name and also pronounce my words and also remember the words.
Yeah, so I just improv what a Jedi Master would think in that moment. He's like, well, they're young. They don't have it all together yet. Not like someone who's a knight or something. So he kind of laughed with her. He's like, it's okay. The effort is all that matters in the moment.
She didn't recite the Sith code.
True. I'm glad you didn't do that. That would have caused a lot of problems.
We need to execute her now.
Carrick, looking at you somewhere. So yeah, those are our new characters. That was great. And then during the whole briefing about the outpost, the new assignments that were going to be given, and pretty much the new layout of our sessions going forward. They're going to be kind of like almost a series of hopefully one shots. Sometimes they might extend to another session, but it'll be like 1 or 2 sessions for each mission. And I'm putting air quotes that you can't see me doing, but it's going to be kind of a new format because you're kind of entering like the actual like heart of the conflict moving forward. So things are going to be a lot more dangerous, more heated. Characters are probably going to have a lot more ups and downs, a lot quicker. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys role play in those moments of levity, whether it's you have a moment of pause and relaxation, then a moment suddenly thrusted upon you where you're in the middle of a firefight or you're sneaking through a compound and you're really trying hard not to be detected because you know if you get detected, it's going to be bad. Looking forward to those. But with that all said, Yavin 4. How much do you really know about Yavin 4 there, Thistle?
I didn't ask to be quizzed right now. Thank you. I will know things, but not right now.
Well, you've watched the original Star Wars movies, correct?
Yes.
So Yavin 4 was the Rebels base during the first Death Star. But it's going to be very interesting because that planet, that little moon, actually has a very rich history in Star Wars. Um, it's got it goes all the way back to like Exar Kun and Naga Sadao, and then you got the Makashi. There's a lot of uh, like history there that's seeped in like the lore of the Force and stuff, and I'm really looking forward to like you guys discovering that history of where your base is, because it's all going to come slowly to the surface because you're there, you're in the middle of it, and being behind the enemy lines too, I think is going to add um, just more tension because well, you remember you were told that you won't necessarily have a direct line to the Republic immediately, like that they have to send a courier to you almost on a rotation of a month because you're so far removed that they can't risk exposing you, and vice versa, they can't risk you being identified. So how how do you think that's going to play out for you and your fellow players in an environment where you're cut off from the Republic, intentionally cut off this time, not like before where you were cut off because the Sith forced you to be cut off, but that you've all kind of agreed to this assignment?
All I can say is we better not get into too much trouble too quickly because we're not going to have a ton of people, I guess, to call for help. So we might be in a pickle if we jump into something a little bit too quick. So yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts is like, yeah, we might want to take it a little bit on the slow side.
It's wise advice. Oh, and since this seems to happen in no matter what pen and paper we're playing, what's your thoughts about splitting up the party?
Well, Lies would say we should never split the party, as he says many times. Um, I I am, I guess I'm like the devil's advocate. Sometimes you're gonna have circumstances where it makes sense to split the party because you are gonna get more done. I think if you have to split the party, you need to do it smart though. You don't split the party and send somebody who's got little to no combat prowess on their own. That would not be smart. It also would not be smart for somebody, Cecile, to go down some corridor by herself, having little to no combat prowess, as you know has happened. So yeah, I think it really just, if you got to split the party, you need to do it in a smart way. But yeah, if you can avoid it, avoid it. That's kind of how I see it.
And Geller, you actually can probably respond to that too, since you've got a lot of D&D experience, but you also kind of saw a little bit of that splitting the party in our last DaggerHeart session. Like, what's your thoughts
I
about that?
I was like, oh no, this is bad. There's gonna be combats all over the place. But no, it can be done right, and I think it's definitely a lot of work for the DM to have the party split up because there's a lot of logistical issues when it comes to how long should you spend on one scene with the split members, and the other people over there are going to just be sitting there the whole time not being able to interact or anything, so you have to go to the next one. And I think it was handled pretty well. I don't think anybody felt left out. um, and we managed to all meet back up in the center where we were meant to be.
Yeah, Shroomy was lucky because I think Shroomy was probably in the worst situation out of all of you for sure. She could
Yeah,
have been.
I was worried about Aubrey. Um, but no, her stealth capabilities played to her strengths for sure.
I'll be honest, out of character and out of like the game, if I was just watching and having seen what happened with Oola, I was thankful she was rolling good that night. So I was like, I don't want to do this to her again. Like my heartstrings are going for her a little bit because I was like, man, if she rolls one bad roll, she's gonna be swarmed by herself. Oh my god.
Uh, um, as a D&D dungeon master, I actually currently in my game that's been going on for 7 years, the players are 15th level, and so there's almost a necessity for me to split them up in order for us to get a sort of very intense and harrowing situation, because when the party's all together, they can, defeat an enemy that's several times more powerful than them just based on their action economy alone, not to mention all their magical items. So it's definitely a tool to be used in a situation where you know you can handle it, that everyone's going to have a good time, and hopefully nobody will die.
Yeah, because I think that's the misnomer, right? That the DM's out to get you, but that's quite the opposite. They want you to have a good time. They want you to be part of the story and just tell the tale. So, but that's great, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to our tomorrow's session of DaggerHeart because we actually got some things lined up for you guys. Since you'll be entering morning, your second morning on that little island. Looking forward to seeing how you guys play that out. I'm actually looking forward to how you guys are going to respond just waking up to, the elder and the townsfolk. I can't wait to see that interaction. Um, and yeah, I think the mystery of Hearthvale is going to be interesting prelude to the events beyond the island. So I think that'll be really fun. And I'm hoping once we get off this island too, we can start delving into a little bit of your guys' backstories. So that's the goal there, is to kind of like play up to some of the things that you guys have built just amongst yourselves. I mean, I think these sessions kind of have helped you guys a little bit to work backwards in your character development. So it's been kind of nice to take little side notes and like, oh, that's how they're playing. Okay, so I'll remember that. So I've been enjoying that, and with our Star Wars stuff too, I think that's going to be fantastic. I think this next half of our Star Wars campaign is going to really challenge those players because now everyone's used to the system. Um, kind of with the death of Oola and the removal of Cecile, the gloves kind of are coming off now, and I think everyone's going to be, treated almost as experts in their own right now, because no longer are you guys new players. You guys have been playing that campaign for about almost 20 sessions.
I don't know. I feel like I'm a Padawan, so I'm new to this. I can't even buy. I don't even have money. My stupid master has money.
Yeah, she's got a daddy.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Not a sugar daddy though, like a coal daddy. Gives me coal.
You're not in shining armor.
That's the funny thing. It's like, yeah, on Thistle, Raps' character is a knight in shining armor. But in Star Wars, it's very different dynamics with the same player. That's fun.
But he's also a Jedi Knight, which is kind of funny because it's like it's a little foreshadowing when you're playing DaggerHeart. You're calling him your knight in shining armor, and then the other system he's a Jedi Knight.
Yep.
That's so funny. Awesome. Well, is there any last thoughts that you guys have before we wrap up our tomorrow talk?
Excited for more tomorrow.
Am I excited? I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun this far, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more fun tomorrow and beyond.
I think you guys make it fun. I think that's the big takeaway from pen and paper games, isn't necessarily like the pen and paper itself. I think it's the players, and I think you guys are making DaggerHeart really fun for me. at least. Are there things that I missed from like D&D? Yeah. Is there things that I could appreciate from DaggerHeart so far? Yeah. But I think it's you guys that are really making it shine. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, the narrative heavy system definitely makes it easier for people who aren't familiar with tabletop to get into it. At the same time, it can be intimidating if you're not sure how to approach like RP in such a freeform way. But having veterans here with them definitely I guess helps.
Yeah, I think having a support system in an RP environment, whether it's pen and paper or MMORPGs and you're a role player, I think just having people that are supportive to newer people in those environments, I think that helps that transition for sure. I agree with you. I think having experienced people that are kind enough to work with somebody who's newer to an environment, I think that goes a long way, especially for your first introduction to pen and paper. That could be scary. I mean, there's a lot of paper usually. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot going on, and you don't have that kind of support system. It could actually put the nail in the coffin for a new player's experience. So I'm glad we have the group. So awesome. Well, I think that is it for tomorrow talk then. I appreciate my co-host Thistle /Cersei/Cecile /Hallie, and I appreciate Geller /Eslaine coming on and talking about our two campaigns that we're kind of wrapping up into one Saturday because we forgot the other Saturday. So thanks again.
Yep, thanks. It was fun.